Um, Christy, I forgot my order. So just thinking about your district, your constituents, what you're working up, building up your brand and base. What are some of the needs and priorities you're seeing where you are, and then kind of how has your outreach um, been going so thus far?
I think it's kind of interesting listening to what everyone else is saying because it seems like we're all struggling with very similar issues, which uh,
Okay.
something I actually hadn't really considered before, right? Like we're all trying to invest in, sustainable energy. We all want to make sure that we're creating, affordable colleges and, educational pathways, whether that's a four-year university or something else. And then we're all dealing with emigration, right? Like all of our states have, massive issues with brain drain, where like all of our best and brightest young minds aren't being retained, and they're moving into larger metropolitan areas for better job opportunities. Here in Connecticut, we just lost one of our largest employers, GE, up to Boston because they provide a much better framework for the kinds of workers that they need in the 21st century, people who understand science and technology and have a globally oriented perspective and are creative and innovative and really challenging of the status quo. And that's something that I think every state, honestly, at this point is going to have to start bringing to the table because you look now and we're post suburbanism, right? We're in a
Right.
world right now where people don't want the little white house and the picket fence and the 2.5 kids. It's just not the same ideal for millennials. So for us moving into larger cities, whether that's near me, New York or Providence or Boston, or if
Right.
LA or Chicago or whatever the largest metropolitan area is within, like your tri-state region, right? So we
Right.
start making cognizant choices in the way that we're actually formulating uh, our states, like as a whole. And I think that's something that state representatives and congressional candidates as well need to consider moving forward, right? Because urbanization
Hmm.
is something that we're imminently going to have to deal with, right? So we need to make sure that the right frameworks are in place so that you have the right balances in zoning between educational institutions and opportunities, jobs, entertainment, culture, arts, and make sure they intersect in a really meaningful way so that people can thrive. Um, so I think that's something that we all can sort of see as a challenge to the nation, and that is something that I personally am very adamant about trying to see changed in Connecticut. And of course, there are issues with making sure that we have better funding for senior citizens and their services, veteran services, children and families, making sure that you're ending the wage gap for women, getting paid family leave, really making sure that you're getting a good quality of life for all people,
Right.
of age or class or race or ethnicity or religion, uh, and opening up equitable opportunities for all people. So I think that's something that is the foundation of my platform. And for myself, I really like to sort of stress that I'm not a single issue candidate because we don't live in a single issue world. So when people get these very small talking points, although I think the sound bites are great, you need to have a much deeper understanding of the way the modern world works because we are approaching a globalized economy that if we are not very, very, very careful of, we're not going to be able to compete in it. And that's as much for a state representative as a congressman, as a city councilor, really. It's just a perspective that we all need to start holding, I believe.
Wow. Okay. I gotta unpack that. And that's what I think. That's another thing I think that does not get uh, understood well enough when we're talking about younger candidates. To some extent, no, I know we have some people in the chat room saying that we have grandmas organizing, and there are people who are coming brand new to this, and they're older in age. Focusing on millennial candidates tonight is not a diss to anyone. I just want to say that it's not a diss to anyone. It's celebrating that there are people in our age block who are stepping out and saying, yes, I want to serve, and I'm not going to wait until, you know, someone comes and hands me the baton and say, hey, it's your turn. Like There's so we see that so much. Like, I don't know, I remember when President Obama was first running, and there was all the stuff about, he needs to wait, he doesn't have the experience, it's not his turn. There seems to be so much of that. It's not your turn language. I've heard people here who have been interested in politics say the same thing. It's not your turn. We need to wait and let people, as if somehow these positions are a part of some package given, bestowed upon someone based on seniority versus earned, based on who is best to represent the district. And what you just said, Christy, is just so awesome, but also crucial, that you cannot be a single issue candidate, right? You can't just say my one thing is this. And I think all of you all have given such a mixture thus far of what the cross-section of issues are in your areas, but also how that I can see how, and Christy, you mentioned how some of the same challenges are popping up. I can see also how these issues, even though, Peter's in Jersey, Athena's in Arizona, Christy's in Connecticut, Bianca's in New Hampshire, I'm in Georgia. We are facing a lot of the same challenges and issues. Our country is at a very interesting point, and where we choose to go and how we're choosing leadership is definitely going to start playing out when this crop of elections and going forward.